We get the viscosity with kudzu root. It warms the body, good for people who catch a chill easily. Kudzu root was also used as a medicine. How did you make this? NN asked, her eyes shining as she pointed to some grilled fish, fragrant herbs and just a dab of butter for taste. I know you said nothing too fatty, but surely a dab won't hurt. She rubbed her sides as she spoke. Our hostess cannot eat rich foods because of an old illness, Maomao explained to the other girls. But she proves that you can still make wonderful meals without much fat or salt. Gracious Maomao, you will make me blush. The woman was grinning again. Here is cow's milk. You can drink some of this if the smell of the condiments bothers you. Yao said cow's milk. It was a regional thing, not everyone was used to it. I have warmed it up and added a bit of honey. It should go down easily. She wanted to make a good impression on Maomao's friends. She carefully emphasized the word friends. Oh, all right, don't you have any other side dishes? Maomao practically shoved the woman back into the restaurant. Her tone clearly showed she wished the lady would stop interfering. People generally thought of Maomao as someone who did not have many friends. When Maomao told her older sisters at the verdigris house about the girls her age she used to spend time with at the rear palace, they all seemed very surprised. Perrin even wiped the corners of her eyes with a handkerchief. Maomao thought to herself, I cannot believe their reaction. Really, of course she had friends. Perhaps she should emphasize the past tense. She could name at least two, but she could not see one of them anymore. And the other Maomao hoped she was doing well. Where did Xirolan end up working? She wondered, recalling the talkative palace woman. Maomao knew she had found work at a mansion somewhere in the capital, but that was all she knew. She had received a few letters, written in Xirolan's unsteady hand. However, none of them included the crucial detail of where she was actually living. Maomao could not reply even if she wanted to. She grabbed a bit of one of the side dishes, still mostly staring into space. Yao was digging into the congee with gusto, apparently quite taken with the taste. NN was busy trying to deduce exactly how it had been seasoned. Would you like to go to the makeup place after our meal? Maomao asked. NN had suggested shopping for ingredients first, but then they would end up carrying the groceries all over. It is true that the best items might sell out if they did not hurry. However, what was left would be marked down. Maomao considered that a fair trade. Yao said, I am surprised you know so much about makeup, Maomao. She replied, my line of work has exposed me to a lot of different things. At the shop, she sometimes mixed dye and white powder for customers who were self-conscious about a scar. This experience had been very handy for disguising Jinchi. Is the makeup place close to here? NN asked. Now she was writing down a recipe with a portable writing set. We will have to walk a bit, but it is not far. And perhaps we could make a quick detour on the way back. Maomao held up her bundle of Go books. Still have your heart set on selling those? NN sounded like she still could not quite believe it. Well, I certainly do not intend to just carry them around forever, Maomao said. Her mind was made up. After the meal, the girls made their way back to the main street. The most famous courtesans in the capital used white powder that was as good as anything found at a noble girl's dressing table. The shop Maomao had in mind occupied a prime location in the commercial district. Skewers, delicious skewers, who wants one? A man with a handful of chicken skewers was trying to draw in customers. The meat cooked over a charcoal fire and juices dripped from it. The man did not really have to bother calling out to customers. The smell was more than enough to keep them lined up. If Maomao had not just eaten lunch, she would have been with them. Is it just me, Yao said, or does the marketplace feel a little different from last time? She looked around, perplexed. Their sheltered young mistress was really getting the hang of doing the shopping. As the seasons change, so do the shops. And you might be noticing all the imported stuff, Maomao said. There were colourful textiles and exotic accessories. Fine grape wine all the way from the west. You won't find it anywhere else. Have a taste if you please. A merchant was dispensing a red liquid from a barrel. Maomao started to walk toward him, but NN stopped her by the collar. Not even one drink, she asked, looking at NN. Not when the young mistress can't have any. You'll survive, I really don't mind, Yao said. She couldn't have alcohol right now, but since she hadn't been a big drinker to begin with, it wasn't a huge issue. Getting drunk is not the best way to go shopping, NN replied. Maomao's shoulders slumped and they walked back to the main street. Other customers, ones who hadn't been stopped before they could try a drink, were buying bottles almost as soon as they tasted the stuff. Maomao normally preferred good, dry alcohol, but something fruity wasn't so bad every once in a while. Is it really imported? Perhaps it wasn't from another country, but rather from that general direction. Then again, the alcohol Maomao had tried in the western capital was very good. She would have been happy to taste it again. However, she worried that the flavor might have changed during the long journey east. Wonder if there might be time to buy some on the way home. They walked past the wine shop, but Maomao kept looking regretfully over her shoulder. The makeup shop patronized by the Verdigris house was smaller than many of its competitors. However, it was lovely enough to set the heart of a young woman aflutter. Pictures of lovely women decorated the storefront, and many makeup products could be seen inside. Each woman who walked by glanced at the shop, seeming to debate whether to enter. The owner did not shout, beckon, or try to persuade customers. Elite establishments like hers did not stoop to base hawking. Those who wanted what she had for sale would come to her without any prompting. "All right, just so I know, what is your budget?" Maomao asked. "We will pay any price as long as we can get the best stuff." NN responded, clenching her fist for emphasis. "I do not think so. I know you cannot afford that on your salary." Maomao presumed NN was making the same amount she was. That would definitely put the finest makeup out of reach. Perhaps she was getting a stipend from that uncle of Yao's that she hated so much. "Welcome, ladies," said the proprietress. She was a middle-aged woman who sounded as refined as she looked, and she looked quite refined indeed. Her makeup was perfect, as it should be for someone who sold cosmetics. Her skin was pale and her mouth was perfectly highlighted with rouge. A simple hair stick held her hair up. However, a closer look showed the hair stick was lacquered. Her nails were also perfectly painted, complementing her skin tone. Maomao thought she could see why the old hag would shop here. The ladies of the pleasure district always had to be on the cutting edge of style. The madam who managed them did as well. The proprietress continued to smile but did not approach them. She would be there if anyone had questions. Yao said, "How about we start with powder?" He stood in front of a shelf displaying an array of white powders. The powders were organized by ingredient. They ranged from pure white to varieties that included dye or pigment. These matched a range of skin tones. Everything was neatly arranged, but one shelf had nothing on it. "Excuse me, are these sold out?" NN asked. Those. The proprietress walked over and an aroma of perfume followed her. She was a slightly built woman. Her pale skin made her seem almost like she might vanish at any moment. The items that were on that shelf were not allowed once it was discovered they contained a toxic ingredient. It is a shame because they always sold very well. They adhered to the skin quite nicely. "Hoo boy, I remember that," Maomao thought. The ban on the poisonous whitening powder had not stopped at the walls of the rear palace. It had evidently gone into effect all over the capital. That was laudable in its own way, but it had to be a blow to business people like this woman. "That's a lot to get rid of," NN observed. "Yes. We have a wide enough range of products to absorb the loss, but some establishments are still offering the toxic powder, or so I hear. It is not hard to understand why. The powder coated the skin well, making the wearer look pale and beautiful. Quicksilver was one of the main ingredients. It did not spoil like cosmetics made from plants, and it could be mass-produced, making it easy to buy. Many courtesans continued to use it despite Liuhemen's warnings. There would always be people who didn't listen, just like the ladies of Consort Lihua's Crystal Pavilion. Perhaps calling them fools is being a little ungenerous. Some people value certain things more than their health or even their lives. But were those who sold the poisonous stuff really so different? They needed money to eat, and if they couldn't eat, they would die. Some people would not hesitate to shorten the lives of others in order to extend their own. Perhaps the merchants dealing in the toxic powder had no other way to make a living. Maomao did not think it had been the wrong choice to ban the substance. Its very production could have deleterious effects on the body. She thought, picking up another powder, and then there is this stuff. "Is this calomel?" she asked. This was another white powder that her father had looked less than pleased about. It also contained mercury, which was sometimes used as a treatment for syphilis. Indeed it is, the proprietress said. Thankfully, it has helped make up much of the shortfall in sales. Calomels probably should have been regulated as well. But if you started saying this is poison, and that is poison, and that is poison, and ordered everything off the market at once, it might actually inspire even wider circulation of the problematic products. They would have to pick the right moment to implement new rules. Maomao, which do you think would be best? NN asked. She and Yao had picked out a selection of possibilities. They wisely excluded anything that used calomels, rice flour and talc, she said. Both seemed to have other ingredients as well, but those ingredients weren't described in detail. May I try some? The proprietress said go ahead, and used a cotton bud to dab a little onto Maomao's palm. Maomao checked the viscosity and the smell. Both were okay. That was quite good, in fact. She thought this powder might be almost as good as what Empress Jayukayo used. What do you think? NN asked. Maomao glanced at the proprietress. Honest opinions, whether good or bad, help us improve our products and service, the woman said. She didn't just sell good products. She was a good person. That is why she could handle the madam during a business negotiation. I think both powders seem excellent, Maomao said. The particles are fine and they stick to the skin well. I have a question about the rice flour powder. What is that, may I ask? Rice flour can rot, and considering the size of the container, I think that during the rainy season, it would start to go moldy before you got halfway through it. I suppose there is some extra ingredient added as a preservative, and it makes me a little uneasy not to know what it is. Knowing that Yao would be using the powder, safety was the most important thing in Maomao's mind. Talc does not go bad and is not toxic. I think this one would be the simplest to use. Talc had diuretic and anti-inflammatory properties. It was often used medicinally with bracket fungus. Throughout all the times Maomao had used it, she had never known it to cause any undesirable side effects. She thought that didn't mean there weren't any, but she wouldn't know until she encountered them. Vigilance would be her watchword until she was sure. The proprietress said, "You'll take the talc then?" "No, ma'am. I think they both have an admixture." "I am concerned. If it is anything bad for you, it would defeat the point." The proprietress frowned subtly at what might have sounded like nitpicking to her. NN, meanwhile, was thinking the matter over. Yao, evidently having decided to leave things in NN's hands, was eyeing some eyebrow pencils made out of spiral shells. In that case, perhaps some of this, the proprietress said. She went into the back of the store and emerged with a ceramic container. It was about half the size of the one on display. Our rice powder is made exclusively with plant materials. You could even eat it if you wanted to. Would a size like this be more in line with the amount you would be using? Or if you would prefer to bring your own container, I would be happy to fill it for you, with of course a discount for bringing your own holder. This lady knows how to make a sale, Maomao thought. She was trying to cultivate repeat customers by addressing their needs directly. Would you specifically recommend this powder? Maomao asked. Certainly. I use it myself. It sticks beautifully and is very easy to use. Looking at the woman's skin showed that it was indeed excellent stuff, yet something still nagged at Maomao. Yao wandered back up and said, "Why not just go with the rice flour powder, NN? It's not a bad idea," NN said. "I could try to make some myself, but I don't think I could ever get it so fine." She had apparently considered making her own powder to ensure it was safe. However, there was no substitute for a specialist. Maomao assumed the proprietress wouldn't be generous enough to reveal the secrets of how she made her wares. In that case, we'll take. Maomao was interrupted by a young woman who emerged from the back of the store. "Mother," she said. "I'm with a customer," the proprietress replied. A frown crossed her face. However, her daughter quickly and politely bowed to Maomao and the others. Then she began to whisper into her ear. Whatever was going on seemed urgent. As her daughter talked, the woman's expression changed. Finally she said to Maomao, "I'm terribly sorry. I will be right back if you will excuse me." Then she left her daughter to take care of things and went to the back. Some kind of trouble, Maomao wondered. She was curious, but it was not her place to stick her nose into whatever was going on. The woman's daughter finished their purchase and counted the bill. NN took the change, and it had white smears on it. "Oh, pardon me," the young woman said, taking back the whitened coins. Maomao noticed that her fingertips were white. The fresh change she pulled out to give them was quickly smudged as well. Their package even had a white smear on it. "Oh no, I'm so terribly sorry, it's all right," Yao told her. "Were you checking the merchandise?" Maomao asked, glancing at the young woman's fingers. 3 of the fingers on her right hand were whitened, as if she had been taking fingerfuls of powder to check the feel. "I'm impressed you noticed," she said. "Let me guess. You discovered something unusual about the powder and felt it was worth mentioning right away." The young woman didn't respond to that, but her face made it clear that Maomao had guessed right. Was there something in the powder that shouldn't have been there? NN pressed. They had chosen the best materials they could find, but if there were impurities in them, what was the point? "What is it?" she said, leaning closer to the young woman. "NN," Yao said, holding her back. The young woman was on the verge of tears. "I am so sorry, we have a new dealer now. He says he brought us exactly what we ordered, but it doesn't feel right when I touch it. I asked him if he was sure he hadn't added any other ingredients, and he snapped at me, telling me to stop trying to get out of our deal. I was scared, so I came to let my mother know. An unsavory merchant or an honest misunderstanding?" Maomao wondered. The dealer certainly sounded shady, but she had only heard the young woman's side of the story. The proprietress still hadn't returned. Whatever they were talking about back there was taking a long time. My mother doesn't want to sell a product if she doesn't know what's in it. The powder that was brought in today uses the same formula we always use, so we should be able to tell whether anything is wrong by touch. But the man who brought it today says we do not have any proof of our accusations and refuses to leave. Maomao crossed her arms. NN was obviously deeply concerned about whether anything was mixed into the white powder. And Yao, bless her earnest heart, looked ready to give someone a piece of her mind. Maomao suspected the exact feel of rice flour could change depending on how and when it was used, but it looked like there were some unanswered questions here. "Well, I can't go home now. If you'll pardon me," she said, opening the door to the back room. She found the proprietress and the dealer locked in a staring contest. A large jar sat between them. "I told you, I followed the formula exactly as you gave it to me. Tell me what you think I got wrong." The merchant, a man not quite in middle age, was shouting so loudly that spittle flew from his mouth. Maomao could see that several of his front teeth were missing. The proprietress did not back down. "Oh, I know what you got wrong. There is something in this. You added something that doesn't feel right. You won't stop talking about how it feels, but that has nothing to do with anything. The feel of rice flour changes with the humidity, and you know it." They were talking past each other. Nothing was going to be resolved at this rate. "Excuse me. It looks like this discussion isn't going anywhere," Maomao said. "Oh, I'm afraid you really shouldn't be back here, miss," the proprietress said when she noticed Maomao, giving her a look of reproof. Her tone was respectful, but her eyes looked grim. "I'm sorry, my dear," she said. "As you can see, we are in the middle of a business negotiation. Perhaps you would be so kind as to wait outside until we are finished." The merchant added his own polite but firm request. Maomao ignored them both, peering into the jar. It was filled to the brim with white powder. A spoon was inside, so she scooped up some of the merchandise. "What do you think you are doing?" the merchant cried. Maomao put a finger in the powder. "It is rice flour, all right." Was this the same stuff my companions and I were about to purchase? No, not quite. The proprietress said the price of rice flour had recently increased. We asked another dealer to produce something with the same formula. She did not quite seem to want to finish her sentences. An increase in the price of rice flour. The season for new rice had arrived, but was the harvest poorer than usual? She could tell by its texture that this was rice powder. It felt smooth, and the color was similar to the rice they had almost bought. She agreed that it felt somewhat different under her fingers than the powder she had been handling earlier. "You can tell, can't you, miss? Tell her my product is unadulterated. This stubborn mule is just trying to get me to lower my price. A mule? I take pride in being able to offer my customers only the safest products. Every detail matters when it's going to go on someone's skin." Maomao could see both their perspectives. The merchant was correct that the consistency and texture of rice flour could change with the weather. The weather wasn't very good today, perhaps simply more humid than usual. "I'm afraid I can't purchase this if we don't know for certain which of you is telling the truth," NN interjected. She was very strict about the products Yao used. Shall we do a little test then? Maomao said. A test, the others asked together. You told us this rice flour is made completely of plant components and all are safe for people to eat. In which case she was going to try to eat it. You're going to eat it. The powder, the merchant asked. It will give you an upset stomach if you simply eat it dry. Perhaps if we dissolved it in water and made a baobing flatbread out of it, the proprietress suggested. Hold on. You think you'll actually be able to tell? Yao said. I'm very confident in my tongue, Maomao replied. She had not done all that food tasting for nothing. She turned to the proprietress and the merchant. Just to be sure, is there any buckwheat in this? There is corn, yes, but no kind of wheat, the merchant said. No problem then. The corn would explain the powder's slight yellow tint.